All right, y'all, good afternoon. I just want to say thank you so much for coming. I'm Crystal, if you guys don't already know by all the emails that I send. This is going to be super informal. I'm not going to be here to lecture you guys on anything. This is kind of, lunch break, lunch and learn. I'm not here to lecture. So I just want to get that across. I will ask that you save all questions to the end. For those on Zoom, we do have Catherine monitoring the chat. So feel free to put anything in there or after, and we'll be sure to draw attention to it. So my goal is to get you guys out of here by 12:45. Hopefully we'll end a little sooner so we could have time for questions, explain some of the goodies we have for you guys, and go through the worksheets that are in front of you. So without further ado, let's get started. All right, so for today's presentation, I'll go into a little bit about me and then more when I talk about my practice. And then we'll go into what is spirituality, the difference between that and a lot of other common terms. We'll also talk about ways to practice. So I have a couple guest speakers here to talk to you guys about practices that I'm not really inept in. And then we'll go into health and wellness and then some action items for you guys. So I do want to open up the room to ask what you guys think spirituality is. Feel free to give me like just words, what your experience is, or just anything really. And then if you are online, feel free to unmute yourself. This is just open dialogue for anybody.
I think spirit for me is connection with life.
Nice. I like that a lot. Okay, anybody else?
I think it's being in tune with yourself and nature.
Okay, nice. Don't bag my handwriting, please. I'm left-handed. All right, anybody else?
Not alone.
So anything that you guys experience, that you guys feel more in tune with your spiritual side, it could be anything from your faith, practices you can do for self-care, anything like that. We'll go into this, so there's no wrong or right answer. Really.
In the chat?
I'll see that. For me,
Spirituality, relationship with God.
Relationship with God. Yeah. I agree. So it does encompass a lot of things. So we're here to teach you guys. So, all right. So spirituality is, in a sense, like Jess said, right up here in the front, a way to connect with yourself. It's a way to connect to your higher self, whether it be a God, a being, just something up there that you have faith in, that you put kind of your purpose of life with, you connect with, okay? So it's very much different than your individual experience and religion. A lot of times people connect religion with spirituality. While that can be the case for a lot of people that practice prayer religion, it is a whole different thing. So like I said, it's different than sensory experience, and it gives you a sense of the greater whole of the world and sense of your physical being, your emotional being, your environment, how you're doing in your job even. It's a whole lot of things. So, yeah. So before I go into this slide, I wanted to ask what wellness means to you, and if you guys have ever heard of the windows of wellness. Kind of ish. Yeah, I saw it somewhere, right? So
UF Health.
Yes.
The way they break the things down for the quarterly.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, Gator Care likes to think of wellness as a very holistic idea. So we like to integrate all 9 windows of wellness. So I'm going to kind of give you guys a little short definition to kind of explain each, because I'm sure when I say like, what is emotional health, you guys are kind of like, my brain. So let me get into it, and hopefully you guys will have a better understanding. Okay, so like I said, the 9 dimensions of wellness is a concept supported by Gatorwell. More specifically, it's the collaboration with UF Wellness. So cultural health is the awareness and comprehension of other cultures, and the fact that you could, whether you want to call it assimilation or, I don't know, getting used to another culture, appreciating what they have to offer that is different than your own. That's what we call cultural health. Emotional health is our capacity to approach the world with optimism, trust, and a higher self-esteem. So that's another sign of emotional wellness. In terms of social wellness, I like to think of your family, your friends, anybody you could talk to if you're feeling down, happy, mad, upset, you got cut off by somebody in the road, anybody that you feel that you can confide in and they could support your emotional health. You need a chair back there? Okay. Cool. Sorry, I made me nervous before standing up. Okay. So spiritual wellness. So our spiritual lives are frequently neglected. So I'm very glad that you guys are here. Like I said, it gives your life a deeper meaning and purpose. It guides your ideas, your values, your morals, and just defines you as a person. So wellness in the environment. So our environment is very interdependent on ourselves and our physical being. So it surrounds the natural world and has a great effect on our general health. And we do have a guest speaker talking about nature. And you're at work, so I should talk about financial stability, right? Well, being fiscally fit can be attained by implementing sound financial judgments. And these techniques can be used to help your current needs or your future needs. And it's always nice when you have money in the bank account, right? So that kind of bleeds into occupational. So our daily labor enhances our talents while also bringing us personal fulfillment. So I'm sure you guys could all relate to when you do good on a project at work or you get a praise from your boss. You feel good when you go home, right? So kind of what that ties into. And then your personal health, which I'm all sure we are familiar with. It's an overall healthier you, and it can be achieved by proper nutrition, exercise, disease prevention, spirituality, and things like that. And then lastly on the wheel, we have intellectual or mental health well-being. So that's our ability to think critically, ask good questions, and open up to new things while also feeding my brain and your brain with lifelong learning. Okay, so I know that was like a whole big thing about that. So before we move on from this slide, do we have any questions on this slide? Okay, cool. Cool. So now that we talked about the windows of wellness, you can go ahead and take out your rate your wellness activity. So that's the first page of your nice white worksheet. So I'm going to go back to this slide so you guys can see the windows of wellness. So what I'm going to ask you to do is basically color in the stars. So it's 1 to 5, 1 not being a priority and 5 being your highest priority. So for me, the spiritual side of things would be all the way 5 because I consider myself extremely spiritual. These are likely to change throughout the presentation, so I would recommend not coloring them in too dark. You also have a chance to write some notes on the next page, so don't worry about all that stuff right now. So I'll give you guys about...
So color in all 5 to make the...
highest priority, yes ma'am. So yeah, I'll give you guys about 2 or 3 minutes, finish that out. I'll kind of get to know when you guys are done. Should have bought those colored pencils.
Color in all 5.
I don't know if your camera would be pointing to you, but do you mind turning it on for some of the people on Zoom?
So the camera just points to everyone who's in attendance, not the presenters. So we found that would be it'd be more appropriate just to keep it off. So it doesn't face the presenters anyway.
Sounds good.
Thank you for asking.
Yeah, right.
What?
Don't feel bad about putting a 1 or 2 star on something because it's your own personal, opinion and priorities.
And it could already be fulfilled.
It could, for sure.
We may already be there, so it's not a priority right now.
Exactly.
That's a good way to put it.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, maybe your priority is something that you want to work on first, or you want to work on the most.
How are we looking? One more minute or so?
A few more minutes, yeah.
All right, we're looking good. All right, cool. So, hello. No, you're okay. No, you're good. Do you need a seat? I think I love my seat. You're good. I don't want you to be standing. I have a thing with people standing. Yes. I think it might be easier to. Yeah. Are you okay with standing? Oh.
For those that are on Zoom, we're pausing for a second. We have a few more people who've joined in person. So just give us one moment.
That's too slow. Just right. Okay. All right, cool. Back to our regularly scheduled program. All right. So, yeah, so this is again, once again, our windows to wellness. We will be visiting them here and there throughout the presentation, but yeah. Okay, so finally, what you're all here for, ways to practice spirituality. So we're gonna be touching on nature, meditation, mindfulness, and religion, more specifically prayer. So we're gonna have Victoria talking about plants and nature. We're gonna have me talking about crystals and gemstone therapy. Mallory over here is gonna be talking about meditation and mindfulness, and then we're gonna have Catherine talking about religion and prayer. So yeah, before we get started, one last thing. You're gonna flip your paper to where you have the nice little matrix that looks like handwriting filled in. And then I'm gonna go back to this slide where we talked about practices. And based on that, I want you guys to go ahead and fill in the matrix based on these practices, or I'm guessing any other practices you're familiar with if you want. Just kind of like high interest, low interest, how much effort you perceive to be putting in for that practice, and things of that nature. So I'll give you guys a couple other minutes. If you have any questions, just let me know.
So the first one is an example, and then the next one's blank.
Mm-hmm. And then just like the last one, all these notes and stuff, you guys can continue to fill this out as your little note page as we go through the practices. I don't feel like you need to fill it up to its brim on the page. The aim is just to get the practice on there. And just like Mallory said, and this kind lady in the front, I don't know your name, I'm so sorry. Don't feel bad about putting like low interest, low effort is okay. We are not all supposed to be 100% okay in practicing all of our practices. It's what worked for you, okay? So this is kind of for you to understand as we go through it as a baseline for our presentation, okay? I'll give you guys about one more minute on there.
Big picture purpose of this too is like once you visualize your high interest, low effort, you know, those are sort of easier things that you're really interested in getting going. The high interest, high effort might take a little more effort, but there's still interest, and maybe not focusing so much on the bottom ones. It's like a great visual for seeing like your own interests and what you sort of want to work on with yourself.
All right, so I think I'm gonna go ahead and move on. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Victoria on her practice of choice.
So hi, I'm Victoria. I'm a wellness coordinator with Gator Care. Today I'm going to be talking about kind of the connection between nature and spirituality. So to start, just talk about like my personal practice. Nature for me is something that kind of grounds me. It kind of gives you something to come back to center myself in the present moment. It also allows me to recognize that nature that does surround us is so vast and so beautiful, and it can kind of help relieve stress and anxiety or even strong emotions. I practice through going on walks. I also make an effort to go outside, especially during like hard times. And then as well as enjoy kind of working and connecting with nature in the form of gardening, outdoor landscaping, and also choose to bring nature in my home in the form of a lot of houseplants. But it kind of just reminds me that nature is something that is always surrounding us and can easily be reached. I'm kind of going back to the windows of wellness. The windows that this touches on most will be environmental, but I also do think it kind of bleeds into emotional wellness as well. So yeah.
So this is just a kind of reminder that you guys are welcome to like revise that worksheet, and this is also the part of the worksheet that we'll be working on, just as a reminder.
So to start, nature spirituality kind of highlights the interconnectedness of us as beings with our environment and with the universe, or also known as Mother Earth. In this practice, spirituality, people tend to find connection and meaning, in a sense, belonging to something bigger. Some of the daily activities that you might have done that you might have experienced kind of the power of nature itself is going on walks, maybe finishing or reaching a mountain peak or the top of a hike, planting and growing plants, and then also maybe even drinking herbal tea. So nature spirituality can have unique effects on each individual. Some of the most common ones are increased feelings of healing, the feeling of being grounded, oriented. It can also increase mindfulness and overall intention. Oftentimes, humans are a key in nature. We are part of that ecosystem. So to feel kind of a pull or a connection when working with nature is very normal. There are some benefits when you do have close proximity to nature, including kind of rejuvenated energy, just feeling refreshed after coming outside, or even feeling the sun on your skin, improved mood, reduced stress and anxiety, decreased blood pressure, improved creativity and productivity, improved sleep, and lower heart rate. This society is so heavy on technology that it can easily be distracted by our phones or what's on TV, and maybe even feel kind of disconnected from nature. But it's always important to kind of realize that nature in all forms is right outside or even in your home. So it's always something that surrounds us no matter the location that we are in.
What is orienting? What does that mean?
Kind of coming back to kind of like yourself, like maybe things at work are kind of going crazy. You might feel out of control, but it can kind of make you feel more oriented with yourself and your purpose. So kind of like bringing you back to yourself.
Yeah, thank you.
Some ways that you can practice are going for walks. This is not only physically engaging, but it can also be emotionally and mentally calming. You can fill your house with plants, whether that be outside or inside, but being surrounded by nature can improve and increase positive mood, productivity, and just overall health. And then kind of going into a subsection of that, gardening, keeping plants can be extremely fulfilling, and it can also demonstrate the true beauty of creation, especially when it does come to items like fruits, vegetables, and herbs that can actually end up fueling your body. So these two kind of forms of adding plants to your home and gardening can be super fulfilling because you're putting your energy into something and you're getting new growth or even food to kind of in return. So it can be very rewarding. And then also kind of taking a moment to focus on your connection with the earth and the role that you play in that can also kind of increase that connection between you and nature. And then lastly, kind of having an open mind to new possibilities, using nature as a reflection. It's always changing and adapting. The weather every day is going to be different. Maybe not in Florida, but for the most part, it's always changing. The colors change throughout the year, but you can kind of use this to open your mind to the potential of what is possible and widen your view on things that can be accomplished. So not only does nature provide us with amazing benefits, but when it comes to what nature can provide us physically, I'm going to talk briefly about some spiritual herbs that you can kind of incorporate or even supplement into your spiritual journey or experience. So nature provides us with various herbs that can aid us in healing and grounding, and also can be used in various forms. So some of the most common ones are sage, which is known for healing, wisdom, and cleansing; lavender, which is calming and purification; chamomile, which is relaxation, healing, and abundance; peppermint, which can be used for protection, cleansing, and digestive; and rosemary for purification, anxiety, memory, and inner peace. So these herbs can hold many forms and can be used in many ways. So some of the more common ones are smudging or incense. That's basically, you might have heard of like saging even. That's basically when you ignite the herb or the stick of incense and allow that smoke to kind of infuse the room or the environment that you're in to kind of bring that energy from the herb to your aura and just your overall environment. Something that is probably most commonly known is going to be kind of the use of essential oils. So that can be a derivative of the herb itself and can be used in like room sprays or used as a diffuser for aromatherapy. Also with certain essential oils as well, you can combine those with water, even coconut oil, and use them topically as well. Another form is hanging your herbs. You can bundle them and hang them upside down. Oftentimes these are seen in kind of the entryway of homes, and they're kind of known to protect, as well as if you don't want to hang them by your door, you can also hang them and then use them and repurpose them for cooking. And then lastly, growing herbs. So this can enhance your nature spirituality really by kind of leaning into that plant, listening to its needs, and then using that plant in any form that we kind of mentioned earlier or previously. But the nature behind growing something and the journey that the herb has from seed to whatever you use it as is pretty remarkable, and it should be kind of recognized, and you should kind of show gratitude towards what it can really provide you. And then lastly, it's really important to just kind of highlight that these can be very supplemental, or you can use them to enhance your practice. But what's most important is kind of finding something that works for you, and listening to yourself and understanding that finding the right herb and the right addition to your practice should be something that's very personal. Yeah.
Thank you, Victoria. Mallory. So if you guys have specific questions about like nature and herbs, you can write those down and we can come back to those afterwards. But it's my turn. So I'm going to talk about mindfulness and meditation and its relation to spirituality. Hello, my name is Mallory. I'm the wellness manager here. So before we start, I actually wanted to ask you guys, when I say the word mindfulness or meditation, like what do you know about it? What do you think of when you hear those words? Quiet. Relaxation.
Being in the present.
Being in the present, that's a key word right there. Yeah. Okay, good. Those are great. We'll get into all of that, of course, but for the next slide. I wanted to start off quickly by, I guess, as far as the windows to wellness, I think meditation and mindfulness really fall under spirituality and listening to yourself and kind of connecting to that inner self and inner peace. But it's also got some great physical benefits and some great emotional benefits as well. So while this presentation is on spirituality, a lot of our topics cover a lot of these different windows to wellness. All of these are tied together just like a circle. There's a reason we made it a circle. So anyway.
So yeah, just as a reminder, this is a portion that we're going to be focusing on the worksheet. So if you want to change it, feel free.
So I'll start quickly by talking about my personal practice. If you remember the chart that Crystal first put on as one of the first few slides was this sort of connection between spirituality and religion. And there's sort of an interconnectedness. They do go hand in hand. I'm an example where I don't necessarily consider myself religious, but I do consider myself spiritual. So just keep that in mind. But my personal practice started through yoga. So I started my meditation and mindfulness practice through yoga, which I've been consistently doing for the past year and a half. But I started it as a form of exercise, but was actually blown away by the mental and emotional benefits that yoga brought me and mindfulness brought me. So that's kind of what got me to do this part of the presentation. So it's pretty amazing. Yeah. And like I mentioned, I consider myself spiritual in regards to my belief that we, have this powerful connection to the earth and to others and to other human beings, which I think is a bigger thing than us as little humans. We've got this connection. And now with mindfulness and meditation practice, I can really connect to myself through breathing and having that calm and quiet time. So mindfulness, you guys had some key words, but by definition, mindfulness is a state of focused awareness of the present moment. So you basically said it. It can be practiced anywhere, like while you're eating or taking a walk, trying to avoid distractions and just being fully present is really what it's about. But it's often coupled with meditation or yoga or things like that. Meditation specifically is the act of using mindfulness and breathing to grow into a deepened state of relaxation. So I have a little bit of a history here, specifically for meditation. I did a lot of research. It's very difficult to tell exactly when meditation started or originated, but sources roughly estimate its beginnings to be in India and China. Around 1500 BCE, although some sources estimate it actually may have been practiced as early as 220 BC. So let's just say the meditation has been around for a really, really long time. There's a lot of research on it and a lot of benefits. So we'll definitely talk about that. Meditation started as a practice tied specifically to different traditions and religious practices and philosophies for spiritual enlightenment. They found that with peace and quiet and working on self-discipline, you could potentially get to sort of a higher place. That's where it originated. In the 1960s and 70s, it started gaining traction in the West, specifically in psychology research. Again, there's tons of research on it. Also among celebrities, and then among the everyday people. So a lot of people practice meditation, yoga, mindfulness, and so on nowadays. So what's the connection between spirituality and mindfulness and meditation? Is that both of these things, mindfulness and meditation, create a greater awareness of the mind and the body and the spirit, just by kind of being with your own thoughts or lack of thoughts and breathing and centering. It can really help you foster a deeper sense of connection. And it may even help answer questions like, what's my purpose? What matters in life? What does true connection mean and feel, and true balance? There are a lot of benefits. I did not list all of them, but these are based on various studies. So studies show the benefits of meditation specifically. Consistent meditation practice can reduce anxiety, can provide relaxation, physical and mental, so calming your thoughts too. Can provide improved cognition and better focus, emotional regulation, feeling more connected, and then improved immune response, and more. So how do you get started? I mean, I think we all know what meditation and mindfulness is. So some of you may already have a pretty well-established mindfulness or meditation practice. And some of you may be new to it, or you want to try something out. So I listed each of these as sort of maybe a starting point. So if you are new, I would suggest starting with one, maybe feeling it out, see how you feel, and then finding which one of these resonate with you most. I think incorporating mindfulness would probably be a great place to start because it can be easily incorporated into everyday activities. And it's intentional too. So we all get up and brush our teeth and go to work and take walks maybe and have conversations with people. So maybe mindfulness would be setting some intention to a specific activity, like when you eat lunch or next time you are with a friend or taking a walk, you choose to be fully present and to be mindful in that moment and to try to avoid distraction and doing other things. Noticing your senses, for example, when you're eating a really good meal, instead of scarfing it down while you're watching your favorite Netflix show, that's fine. We all do it. But just focusing on the meal, really noticing the different flavors and things like that is a way to practice mindfulness. So starting with one activity, it can sort of bleed out into other activities. And it does, practice makes perfect. It does take practice and some intention behind doing it, but it can be really great. And then it becomes easier along the way. There's definitely some great benefits about it as well. For yoga, if you are interested in starting yoga, one, you do want to think about what tools that you have or don't have. So do you have a mat? Do you have access to YouTube if you wanted to look up some videos? Do you have a space in your house to do it? So those are the things to think about. It takes a little bit more tools and space as opposed to maybe mindfulness or meditation. And then I suggest starting small. So when you have the basic tools that you need, maybe you want to try one 20-minute yoga class a week and see how you feel. I also put on here, don't get too eager. I think with yoga, some people get excited about like making cool poses and making it look good, you know, but it's really not about that. It's really, for example, if you were to do like a forward fold or something, some people might get frustrated because their arms don't even come close to touching the floor. And they're like, man, I'm not good at this. But it's not about that at all. It's really about like how you feel. And with practice, those things, you start to feel better, you get more flexible. But don't get too eager. Just notice sort of how you feel and those benefits. And then meditation. Meditation's great because you don't have to have any tools. You can do it anywhere at all. There's a lot of great apps and YouTube videos, same with yoga, that are free to use and to watch. So doing a little research, meditation, choosing a time. So if you want to try it, maybe before you go to bed is a great starting point if you've never done it before. So maybe pulling up a 5-minute meditation on your phone, listening to it before you go to bed and try to fully be relaxed in that moment. It'll also help you calm down at night. So yeah, do a little research, start small, and go from there. And then lastly, I wanted to include this quote from Buddha. If you are quiet enough, you will hear the flow of the universe. You will feel its rhythm. Go with this flow. Happiness lies ahead. Meditation is key. There's magic that happens when you allow yourself to just be quiet with yourself sometimes.
Cool. Thank you, Mallory. Again, if you guys have any mindfulness or meditation questions, we will be here after to answer any of your pondering questions. But without further ado, Catherine, if you could hear me, you're up.
All right, so hi everyone. My name is Catherine, and I'm one of the wellness interns here at Gator Care. Today I'll be talking to you about the power of prayer and religion, which falls into spiritual wellness, but can also fit into the emotional and social dimensions of wellness as well. So to give a little bit of background, my family is made up of different denominations of Christianity. So some of my family members are Jehovah's Witness, Seventh-day Adventist, and or non-denominational, and some are even agnostic. I personally grew up going to the Kingdom Hall for Jehovah's Witnesses with my mother. And so since childhood, I have applied their teachings to my life to the best of my ability. It wasn't until recently that I actually began moving towards becoming a follower of non-denominational Christianity. And so to this day, I continue to practice Christianity by not only attending service on Sundays, but also by attending meetings throughout the week and actively applying the teachings of the Bible in my life. And so although prayer is a large part of my religion, and many, if not all other religions for that matter, I never see it as a chore or requirement. Instead, I see it as a stress reliever. So whenever I feel stressed, burdened, confused, or even happy, I turn to God through prayer. Prayer is how I express my feelings and my gratitude, and it provides me with a sense of peace in my life. So we know that different religions require different practices. So for example, if you're a part of the Baha'i faith, you would need to fast for 19 days before the beginning of the Baha'i New Year. But if you're a Christian, you need to believe in Christ and be baptized for salvation. And the list continues on. But in all the differences, similarities can be found. From what I've found, the common themes surrounding having a religion stem from unity and community. No matter who you are or how independent you are, the fact of the matter is that no man is an island. No one can make it solely on their own. So many people tend to find community, belonging, and support within the religion they choose to practice and adhere to. Additionally, many people turn to religion to find order and solace in our chaotic world. And the same could actually be said of prayer. Across religions and cultures, prayer is often used as a way to provide peace and reassurance, not only to the person praying, but also to whom they are praying for. And so in accordance with that, prayer is also a way for asking for assistance. Whenever I struggle, I ask God for help. I could try to do it myself, of course. However, I firmly believe that some things only God can do, and I have to trust that. As it turns out, there are plenty of health benefits and advantages to religious involvement in prayer. A Stanford anthropologist wrote that as you become more religiously involved, your immune functions improve through the reduction of cortisol release, and your loneliness reduces. According to the National Alliance on Mental Illness, religiosity has the potential to reduce suicide rates, alcoholism, and drug abuse. It also provides a sense of group connection and sense of structure. On the other hand, prayer has its own benefits. According to the University of Minnesota, prayer can provide a relaxation response, reduce stress, the feeling of burden, and can produce a mind-body-spirit connection. When we pray for ourselves and for others, whether we know them or not, it increases our empathy and understanding towards them. And so I just want to say thank you all for providing me with your undivided attention. If you have any questions, feel free to write them in the chat or ask me at the end.
Great, thank you, Catherine. Okay, so now it's my turn. I know it's about 12:40, 12:42. So if you do need to leave early, whether on Zoom or in person, you guys will feel free to leave. But I do encourage you to stay because I love crystals and so should you.
If you need to leave in person, before you go, each of you get either a journal here, so you can choose which one you'd like, or a plant. So one or the other. So if you do have to leave, I don't want you to miss out on that.
Cool, thank you. All right, so again, I'm Crystal. I'm going to be presenting on the crystal and gemstone therapy. So again, I'll be explaining what crystals are, but I do think that while you can consider the crystal gemstone therapy spiritual, environmental, or even honestly emotional, I'm going to be touching on the cultural side. So its cultural origins, its relations to the crystal era of today, and all that good stuff. So we're going to be focusing on the very top of this worksheet. So like I said, a little bit about me. I'm a very chaotic person. If you know me, I'm always running at 100 miles an hour and I refuse to stop. I don't have brakes on my car. So I do a lot of different things, as you could see. So I always need at least like a day or two when I have some real stressing out to do to just take a minute to myself. And I use crystals and gemstones. So I'll go into how I use those in just a second. Some things to point out before I even get into anything. What are crystals, right? So crystals are a solid material that is arranged in a highly ordered microscopic structure. That's what Webster Dictionary gave me. But what does that mean, right? So salts that we use in every day can be considered functional for taste, for healing. So I don't know if you guys are, familiar with Epsom salts. People bathe in those, they get rid of a lot of infections. They're good for immunity. It's just a really good salt. And that's a crystal. So we use that. Snow's a salt, table salt's a salt. Those are all crystals if you really okay. So yeah. So let's get into the history. So crystals have been used for a long time in many different ways. So a long time ago, they were used for kind of like lucky trinkets or like a luck charm. So they were used as talismans and amulets. In ancient Egypt, they were also used for protection and health and cosmetically. So the Egyptians, they would rub malachite, I think it's malachite, against a rock until it was nice and ground, and they'd go like this and put it on their eyes. And that was their eyeshadow. So they also use them against nightmares and evil spirits. They also use them as headdresses. So they would put them in the middle of their headdress and it would allow them to rule wisely and without any negativity. So India is one of the richest sources of information that we have nowadays for crystals and our information and knowledge about healing properties. So they are the region of the world that introduced the rest of the world to chakras. So if you guys are familiar with that or not, your body has energy centers. So there's one in your hand, one in your heart, and then one on your head, and then on all other parts of your body. So they thought that putting crystals on your body would unclog these energy centers. So that's how most of the crystals are used today. Thank God for India. Mm-hmm. So also hitting it back on China, actually, in the olden times, jade was widely used as kind of an essence for love. So this pot is actually made out of jade, and the article that I pulled it from said that it was from an anniversary gift. So again, it kind of shows love and it shows your passion for somebody. There's more. So crystals in the Central, Northern, and South America were used for ceremonial, spiritual, and healing purposes. So Mayans used obsidian, for ceremonial knives. So I have a couple crystals back there that I'll show you guys. It's a black stone that they carved to make a knife out of them, and they thought that it's for protection. So today, that's the same way obsidian is used for protection. Mexicans actually use mirrors out of pyrite, so it's kind of like a clear crystal. And they also thought that the souls of their ancestors would lead the life in crystals. So that's why they kept a lot of them around, which I thought was very interesting. Another point that I'd like to make is a lot of the nomenclature that we know today comes from Greeks. So Greeks used to think that quartz was clear water. It was frozen ice. So crystal comes from the Greek word ice. I thought that was super cool. And then lastly, of the historical side, I know it's kind of getting a little, but the Vikings used a crystal called an Icelandic spar. So they would put the crystal up to their eye and it would lead them through their voyages. So just a little history lesson for you guys today. So how are crystals used for healing? Like what? Do I just put it to my head and, do I feel better? No. So healing crystals are actually a pseudoscientific alternative medicine technique that uses stones and crystals. So I know that was like a big word, but it basically means it's not backed by facts. It's based on what's the placebo effect. So if I put a crystal up to my heart and I think that it's used for anxiety and depression, my mind is going to convince me to think that I'm healing myself with this crystal. Does that make sense? Kind of. Okay. So like I said, it's a pseudoscientific technique. They call them semi-precious stones, such as quartz, amethyst, and opals. The practitioner places crystals on the body centers of the body, or chakras, and you construct what's called an energy grid. So it provides you with healing energy, and it overall enhances your aura. It makes them less rule bound, and I think it's cool. So yeah, so the mainstream, it's gotten way more popular recently. The mainstream kind of says it doesn't really do anything because the doctors don't say anything, but based on individual experiences, people I've talked to, some research articles, it's way more common to use them for depression and anxiety rather than anything else. And yeah, so again, it can stimulate feelings of relaxation, peace, calmness, and less stress, which can overall improve your depression. And then anxiety. So like I said, in ancient beliefs in India and stuff like that, it unblocks certain chakras or energy centers. So yeah, just as a wrap up, I do want to put the disclaimer out there that just because you have crystals doesn't mean you'll be healed from every little thing. Okay. Yeah, so a lot of people, including me, they like to cleanse their crystals. So I'm gonna let you guys touch them today. Don't be afraid. You can't touch them. I will be cleansing them after. So some people cleanse them with herbs, like Victoria said. So like I use Palo Santo. That's basically like a holy stick in Spanish. It kind of cleanses the crystal overall and its energy and what I bring to my house. So before I even walk in, I'll go ahead and cleanse the crystal, and then I'll walk into my house, cleanse it again, and it just, it works for me. So yeah, do not replace it with medical advice. Okay. Just because you have a crystal doesn't mean you shouldn't go to a therapist. Okay. Nice. Cool. Now that we're on the same page, let's wrap back to our windows of wellness. I want you guys to take out the last part of this packet where it says take action goals. We're going to revisit this slide right here, and all of the windows of wellness are listed under the window column. And I want you guys to take some time to put what you're doing well and your goals. Again, I'm only going to take a few minutes. You guys are welcome to take this with you, but this is kind of just your, I guess, starting point with this newfound knowledge and your spiritual journey.
Feel free to only choose like one or two. If you, based on this or based on other things, one window to wellness is really standing out to you, maybe write some goals just for that one.
Thank you. So these goals can range from anywhere, like I want to practice or go on a walk every day, to I don't really need to do anything and just leave it blank. Again, all based on you.
I'm going to find a new meditation app and try it.
Does
Yeah.
you have access to Calm, which is like a mindfulness app?
Yes, that was a trial for, there's a limited number of
Oh.
free subscriptions. They might still have some actually. So.
I mean, I use a different one that I also pay for. But I remember reading that in one of the newsletters that they were making that available to some people. So if other people didn't know about that and you were interested, maybe see if they still have access to it, because it is a paid app.
So before we get into questions, I did want to put this up here so you guys can take our post survey. I will be sending a follow-up email with resources. So you have mindfulness, meditation links, things like that, based on the specific practices we talked about today. But yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed this presentation. It's kind of a first for Gator Care, so I hope we set the standard.